What is going on, everybody? We are live here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. We're presented by PrizePicks. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic week. If your week is focusing on the Bears Stadium situation, you probably are not having a fantastic week, but we will get into that. We'll take your questions. Some NFL news that I think is relevant for the Bears and all 32 NFL teams, so I want to dive into that as well. But appreciate everybody for being here. Apologies for no live show Monday. Had some other stuff going on, so we didn't go live. But back at it today. Light up the chat. Cullen, good to be back live on the channel as usual on Thursday. Almost to the month of June. You know, this offseason feels like it's kind of going fast. I mean, you're the Super Bowl champion here. Do you feel like it's been a long time since the Super Bowl? Has it gone by quick?
You know, I don't really like to talk about it personally, but since you brought it up, no, I'm just kidding. No, it's been kind of one of those surreal off seasons where this is my first time being a host here at Chat Sports with an off season, so it's been a little, I guess, slower from that regard because I'm like really like diving in, whereas like before it was a different role for myself. But I think in general, from a news perspective, it's been going kind of quick. Like, I don't know, maybe if there was like more storylines kind of carrying out. I mean, we've got like the A.J. Brown, you know, what will happen. We all kind of think we know what's going to happen situation. But from a Bears perspective, it feels like, yeah, okay, you know, business is moving along. They, you know, went through the draft, went through free agency. Now we're sitting here getting ready for, you know, the second part of the offseason before we get into training camp, preseason, and then finally football being back. I do miss it, I'll be honest. I do miss football.
Yeah, you know, as I've gotten older and I've got, you know, wife, kids, second kid on the way, I have grown to appreciate the slow months. Just kind of unwind. You know, I'm leaving for vacation late next week, so on and so forth. But even my wife was like, yeah, I'm kind of ready for football to be back. And yeah, it's the dog days are kind of here, but we'll have OTAs coming up, so at least something going on there. We'll actually have a video tomorrow. I didn't really have time to get it ready for today's live show, but Al Harris talked today. Richard Hightower talked today as well, as the Bears are wrapping up the end of Phase 2 of the offseason program before OTAs get going next week. But yeah, be curious to kind of dive into that a little bit. A couple storylines there, but yeah, it's I'm ready for football. It'll be here before we know it. But thanks for everybody being here today. Okay, the stadium situation, which if you've watched this program for more than a day, you know I'm exhausted by the stadium stuff. I know you guys are too. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about it when there are things we're talking about, especially this time of year when there's not a lot of football stuff going on. I got to say, I'm less confident than ever that we're near some sort of a resolution, especially in the state of Illinois. The mayor is trying to get back involved to keep the team in the city. Sounds like he's got some pull in Springfield, where Chicago-based representatives are hesitant to push forward a deal that would allow the Bears to build in Arlington Heights. It's just brutal, man. So, what's your guys' confidence level in the Bears in Illinois making a deal, at least in the near future, the end of this legislative period, May 31st? By then, it's close to zero for me, but even like substantial progress being made by then, I gotta say, it's like 25% or less for me. I'm not very confident at all. The only question I have is like, at what point do the Bears just kind of pull the ripcord on this thing and just say, well, you know what? We've made mistakes along the way, but we're also just tired of this with the state. We're just going to go to Indiana. Like that's kind of what I'm wondering, which again, we'll probably get some sort of an idea on if that patience is really wearing out, if May comes and goes without any kind of progress, but yeah, it's not looking super promising right now.
No doubt. It's also the question on our live poll, so make sure you guys go vote down below. I broke it up into 4 kind of subcategories: 0 to 25, 26 to 50, 51 to 75, and then 76 to 100 in terms of your confidence level. We did get some answers in the chat. Christ King saying 0, Lacora 37, Fernando saying 50-50. It's actually fairly split in the live chat, so I think a lot of Bears fans are just kind of, at this point, waiting to see what happens. Will Illinois step up to the plate?
Well, and Prime Ronnie makes a good point. It's like, you got $1 billion offer from Indiana. How do you not take it? I think the answer is because they don't want to leave the state they've been in for over 100 years. But to your point, it's like, at what point are you just like, you know what? Like, you're not giving us much of a choice. Like, it's just, we're losing money by the day here. I mean, everything's getting more expensive. So, you know, it's just disappointing. I mean, you would just think everyone involved would be more motivated. And look, like, I get like the city leaders wanting to keep the team in the city, but it's also like that feels kind of too little too late. So we'll talk about it. We got a full segment on it coming up, but it's definitely a bummer. Shout out to PrizePicks for being our presenting sponsor as always. Daily fantasy sports. And by the way, guys, pretty cool new feature with PrizePicks. You can now combine a team pick with your player picks lineup. Now, a little disclaimer here. If you do that, you can't use your promo fund. So if you're signing up, use code HMA, you get the $50 in free lineups. You can't use that money if you're including a team pick in your player picks lineup if you're combining those. So just be aware of that. The promo funds are free to use for player picks only lineups, but pretty awesome. You can take who's going to win the game tonight. In addition, throw it in there with a 3-player lineup, essentially becomes a 4-player lineup. I've got a 6-player lineup without a team pick in this one, so you could use promo funds in this one, for example. You got 50 to win 825 here, a little 6-player lineup there. Jalen Brunson, more on his points. Goblin play, took more. James Harden, 8.5 rebounds and assists. My one demon to kind of increase the payout here, Jared Allen, more than 34.5 fantasy score, so hopefully that hits. Took more on Cat's rebounds and assists as well. More on Max Strus points, 5.5 Goblin play, and then OG Anunoby less on his points. He looked rough in game 1 coming off that injury. So 50 to win, 825. Check out PrizePicks today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups. Once you play your first $5 lineup, that's code HMA. $50 in lineups once you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's for player picks only, but still pretty awesome stuff. Okay, link is in the chat to download the PrizePicks app. Christ is king, $5. Issue with the stadium is that it's become a huge political issue and talking point. It is what it is. I'm just here to watch the Bears beat the Packers. Yeah, and look, all of these things are unfortunately political issues because you're talking about tax dollars. You're talking about public versus private money. That's true with every new stadium that gets built anywhere. Unfortunately, this one has just turned into this extended back and forth where, you know, it seems like when you might be taking a step forward on a compromise, 2 steps get taken back. There's a lot of powerful voices, it would appear, in this situation. So yeah, it's unfortunate. These things are always going to politics are always going to play a role when we're talking about people's money. So, you know, it's just, I just don't know where it goes from here. I mean, that's kind of my thing. Like, if you get through May and there's no deal or even like some tangible progress toward making one. It's like, to me, there's like, it's a fork in the road moment. It's like, okay, you continue to kind of stay the course, or you just say, fuck it, we're going to Indiana. Like that's kind of that's kind of it at that point. Like, I think the Bears, who kind of created some leverage with Illinois with the Indiana play, they could lose that leverage to me, Cullen, if May comes and goes and they don't go to Indiana. Because then isn't Illinois just going to be like, well, if you're not going now, why you're never going? Like, it's you're continuing to wait it out. You're making it clear you want to stay in the state, so we're going to continue to kind of bargain on our side and make sure we get the things we want out of this deal. So I think the Bears got a big decision to make once they get into June if legislation doesn't pass by May 31st in Illinois that everybody is comfortable with. So it'll be very telling in the next few weeks kind of where this goes.
No doubt. It's kind of an old-fashioned standoff, it feels like, where, I mean, how many chances have the Bears given the state of Illinois to be like, hey, we're trying to make something happen here. We just need some cooperation. Feels like, from all accounts, none of their asking kind of just points are out of bounds by any means. And for whatever reason, Illinois just cannot get it done. So it's almost just one of those things where, like, you know, if you're, I'm trying to like find a real world example. If you're having, you know, relationship issues or whatever, friendship issues, and you're trying to meet somebody halfway in the middle and they continuously kind of brush you off or, you know, push things down the road, at some point you have to stand up for yourself because, to your point, if you keep letting and enabling that person to be like, all right, I'm giving you more chances here, they're just going to, take a foot.
You know what it is? This isn't a perfect analogy, but like, everyone has that friend, in your friend group or like, your couples group or whatever in life. Everyone everyone has that friend that for whatever reason you always have to reach out to them to hang out or to do something. And eventually you get to a point where you're like, I'm just going to stop reaching out because I'm the one who has to initiate everything. It's like, if you valued this as much as I did, you would be the one to reach out every once in a while. So, like, I'm sure everyone in the chat can relate to that. Like, oh, yeah, that friend that, I grew up with, but for whatever reason, anytime we do something, I have to, like, be the one to initiate it. It's just like, at some point, something has to give. It's like we all have only so much time and money and things that you can do within a day, a week at a time, whatever. I just think if you're the Bears, if you're George, you're just like, I just am not going to play this game anymore. And look, I don't think Kevin Warren has done a great job. I think a big misstep he made was, and I can't remember when this was, probably about 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half, when they did that thing with the city and released those renderings. We're like, yeah, we've got a plan to stay in the city, and that never really seemed that viable. And so, like, I think you gave people in the city false hope. I think now Brandon Johnson is pissed off because of that. He probably feels like, well, that was just a farce, and so I'm going to get people that are on my side to not vote for this proposition because, you said we can make this work in the city. Why would I get on board with you guys going to a suburb up in Arlington Heights? And so now you've got this, people are pulling different people in different directions. And Indiana's kind of just watching across the border like, all right, well, you guys keep fighting. Whenever you're ready, come on over. We're not even going to release. We'll even accept understanding that we're your second option, but because we know if in the end you come to our side, it's going to benefit us greatly. So I think Indiana's playing this smart. Like, yeah, the Bears have been great, this and that, even though deep down they probably know that Chicago wants to stay in Illinois. But it's kind of like the just stay quiet and let. This is a very big political strategy. Is like sometimes you just let the guy you're going against keep running his mouth and you don't say anything, because the more they talk, if they say things that don't make sense, you don't even have to like prove anything in terms of what you're trying to promote for what you're running for. You can just let them sound stupid, and that's kind of what's happening right now. Indiana's just like, yep, we're ready to play ball. We got a deal in place. You guys keep fighting, and Bears, when you're tired of that, come on over to our side. Like, we're ready to go. So that's kind of how it feels like where we're at right now. Okay, we got a super chat from Harrison's Chubbies. Well, Punchy Jones, if the Bears moved to Indiana, they would still be the Chicago Bears. The funny part about it, the Indiana site is closer to the city of Chicago than Arlington Heights. So it's like, George McCaskey said it in March of the owners' meetings, like, people would get over it, and I actually agree with them. Like, sure, you might lose, like, one random fan out there out of every 10,000, but, like, they build an awesome stadium and they're a good football team, and they're going to go. Illinois is swarmed by the dirtiest politicians. Yeah, look, I'm not going to get into some political argument here. Everyone has their own political beliefs. I really, this is a sports show, but look, clearly politics has hijacked this thing too much. It's anytime you're building a new stadium and public money's involved, there's going to be politics. That's just part of it. But like the Titans, the Bills, these other teams pretty smoothly have been able to get new stadiums going. So it's unfortunate, man. Chris Lopez, are you signing up for a split in the division right now? Yeah, let's talk some football, Chris. I would think about it. I mean, I think the Bears can go above 500 in the division, but like it would be hard to like signing up for 3-3 in the North with the state of the division right now is not a bad thing. That's already +1 from what you did last year. You went 2-4 in the division and won the division. So if you can go 3-3, like you feel pretty good about your chances again. But I don't know if I'd do it right now because I do think you could go above 500. But I would think about it. I don't know about Cullen. You play in a tough division. Would you? I know there's no Cardinals in the NFC North, but would you sign up for 3-3 in the NFC West or probably not?
Probably not.
Because you're probably thinking you're sweeping Arizona. So if you split the other two, you go 4-2.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a little different. It's hard to say. I mean,
it's also one of those things too where I usually don't like these questions like signing up to automatically assume a loss. Like I'd rather they just happen organically. Like if they do, which again you're not going to win every game, but I get it from this scenario that Chris is posing. I'll ask it from this kind of point, though. Do you think it's more likely the Bears sweep an opponent or get swept by an opponent in the NFC North? In your opinion?
Probably pretty close, to be honest.
Y'all let us know down below in the chat, but the reason why I asked that is because if you feel like it's more likely that the Bears could get swept by somebody, then yeah, maybe you would be more open to taking a split in the division. Whereas if you think you've got a pretty good chance to potentially get 2 games from a divisional opponent, maybe you're more apt to letting it play out. I think we'll talk about the Bears and obviously, the NFC North in general more as the offseason gets along, we get ready into the season, and then obviously once the season starts. I think right now, just unbiasedly, I think the Bears and the Lions are 2 of the top teams in the North, with the Packers and Vikings somewhere lagging behind.
Yeah, I think the Packers are kind of the wild card. Like, I think the Lions still probably have the best overall personnel. And I think that was true last year, but I just don't think the coaching fit. Mm-hmm. Like, they just could not – the coaching was a problem. They had to, Campbell had to take over play calling. That's not his thing. Mm-hmm. And the defense was kind of hit and miss. I think you could already argue that the Bears may already have the best overall coaching and probably the second best roster. And then the Packers, I think the Bears and Packers are pretty close in a lot of ways, but I actually, in a weird way, I already trust the Bears coaching staff more. like Gannon's a complete wild card. I don't know what that's going to look like. I think losing Jeff Hafley is a big deal. Plus, when's Micah coming back? And is he just hitting the ground running when he's back? Does it take like a month for him to get going again? Because we saw it last year. Without Micah, they went from like a top 10, top 12 defense to a bottom 10 defense. So like
their best player to start off the season on defense is going to be like Edgerrin Cooper.
Yeah, an off-ball linebacker. and I know everybody was making Rashawn Gary jokes, but like you're probably going to go a couple games with like Lucas Van Ness as your best edge rusher. That's not good. Like,
not at all.
I would take the Packers D-line once Micah's back, but without Micah, it's probably worse than the Bears. I mean, Devontae Wyatt's a solid player on the interior, but like their edge group is pretty brutal when Micah's not out there. So, yeah, and Minnesota, if you told me Kyler was going to be a top 15 guy this year, you could argue that's the best team on paper. Their roster is loaded. I think they have the best defense in the division by a fairly healthy margin. So all four are pretty close. So look, long-winded answer, like I would certainly think about it, but I would still probably want to play it out because I do think there's at least a decent chance that you go 4-2, maybe even better. So I think on my record prediction, I did have them going 500, but I would hope you can beat the Lions at home this time with extra rest, even if you're going to lose on the road. I think the Bears do match up pretty well against Green Bay, so I think there's a world you could sweep them. And while Flores gives the Vikings or the Bears challenges, I also think that defensively the Bears can hang with Minnesota's offense. So we'll see. Kyler makes them an ultimate wild card. That could go one way or the other. Crisis King again. Like I said, if Illinois doesn't reach a deal with the Bears by the end of July, it wouldn't surprise me if they go to Indiana. It's been over 3 years. Well, I just don't see this legislative period ends in late May, so I don't know what's going to change in June and July. I don't know when the next period starts and gets going, but yeah, I don't know. Kevin Warren says they're making a decision in June and July. Are they? I don't really know. If you don't get real momentum by May 31st, if you're making a decision in June and July, does that mean you're going to Indiana? Or are you just sacrificing some of the things you were looking for from Illinois? It's all a guessing game at this point. So, all right, hit that like button. We got a lot to get into. We'll dive more into the stadium stuff off the top of the show here. So we'll continue with that conversation as well. But like the video, let's get more Bears fans in here. In addition to the stadium stuff, we will take more questions. So fire in the chat, #Bears Super Chat. Free agent questions, trade ideas, offseason talk, schedule talk, division, stadium talk if you wish. Fire away. And then some interesting stuff that the NFL has announced that I think is good news, but also some bad news in some ways as well for the Bears and for all 32 NFL teams and the fan bases. So we'll kind of further explain when we get to that. But lots to talk about here on a Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being with us. Let's get into it. I'm Harrison Graham, and we've got more Bears Stadium news. And to be honest, it's pretty infuriating at this point. We're presented by PrizePicks. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. A lot of quotes here, a lot of reporting, and since this is a topic that I'm not an expert in, I kind of rely on those who cover this stuff. So NBC Sports Chicago had a lot on the latest stadium update. Mary Ann Ahern has done some reporting here. She says Illinois State Senator Bill Cunningham, a co-sponsor of the pilot bill aimed at keeping the Bears in Illinois, said the team reached out to the city in recent weeks concerning what he believed was a hypothetical reunion on a stadium project if the Arlington Heights site doesn't work out. Cunningham said the outreach from the Bears has strengthened the opposition of Chicago lawmakers to the bill that would relocate the team to Arlington Heights. Well, that feels like that backfired. That doesn't sound like a good situation whatsoever. And we'll kind of, as we go along, explain here. But essentially what's happening is Mayor Brandon Johnson has basically decided he's not accepting the fact that the Bears are going to leave the city. Even though, the Bears have announced we're down to Arlington Heights and Hampton, Illinois. Goodell says those are the two viable sites. And so I think the mayor is using some pull and some power here with some of his friends in Springfield saying, do not vote this through. Let's keep the Bears in the city as kind of a last-ditch Hail Mary here at this point in time. We'll continue with some of those talking points here. But some quotes from the senator as well. He says, one of the problems that we've run into is that some of the outreach the Bears have done to the city of Chicago as late as 4 weeks ago has breathed new life into the mayor's opposition to the bill. We learned that there was contact between the Bears and the city sometime in late April. They talked hypothetically about looking back at the lakefront if Arlington Heights did not work out, and that has given the mayor the opportunity to the point is to that as a hope that a lakefront stadium is still possible, and that increased opposition among Chicago members. In other words, again, the mayor has convinced people, whether he's right or whether he's wrong, that, hey, we could still keep the team here. Do not vote to pass this pilot, this situation, the tax dollars, all that stuff, to have the Bears just freely move to Arlington Heights. Marianne Ahern again with the reporting here. On Wednesday night, a source close to the negotiations told NBC Chicago that the talks between the Bears and the city were focused on the parameters of the team's lease at Soldier Field, not a re-engagement on stadium conversation. So again, he said, she said. Bears said they're talking about the current lease at Soldier Field. The senator/mayor side, no, they talked about a backup plan of staying in the city, giving us false hope, blah, blah, blah. Ahern continues, the source said the use of the talks by city officials appears to be another effort by the mayor to kill the bill that would keep the Bears in Illinois. I don't even know who to believe anymore. It's hard to trust the politician sides on any of this, regardless of what party, you align with or whatever. So I'm not going to sit here and just trust Brandon Johnson or the senator or whoever. But, I don't know if we can trust the Bears at this point either when it comes to the stadium. It is kind of unique timing that the Bears were speaking to the city in the last month, which they're acknowledging. They're just saying that it was about the lease of Soldier Field. What does the future of that look like as they transition to a new stadium, so on and so forth, because that is a part of this that is kind of a dilemma if the Bears have a new stadium before the lease at Soldier Field is out, which if they get a new stadium on a reasonable timeline, that would certainly be the case. Brandon Johnson, through the senator, is saying, no, they said, hey, let's re-engage on a potential lakefront stadium location. That's tough to believe considering the Bears' public message has been, we're down to Arlington Heights and Hammond, Indiana for well over 2 months now. That's been the messaging publicly. Now, that's just public. That's just what we're hearing. Could they be bullshitting us on that? Again, I don't know who to believe anymore. I don't really trust anyone in this situation. I don't think we can sit here and act like Kevin Warren has done a great job at this point, even though it's clearly an uphill battle working with Springfield. I think that's also fair to say. But I think the best way to kind of describe any of this is there's no one you can trust when it comes to who's been more right and more wrong on these stadium negotiation tactics for the last several years. Okay, plenty more to come. There's a lot more to dive into, but guys, PrizePicks, no one's doing it better. I mean, the daily fantasy sports with PrizePicks, I'm firing lineups every single night. The playoff basketball is fantastic right now. The playoff hockey has been must-see TV. And if you're on your couch or at the bar watching these games, fire off some PrizePicks lineups. It's easy to do. It's fun. You can have bragging rights with your friends. You just select more or less on stat projections available. Whale play incoming, 6-player lineup, 50 to win 825, 16.5x. 4 goblin plays, which are easier to hit, lower the payout. Do have one demon in there. More than 24.5 points for Jalen Brunson. I don't think the Cavs have anyone that can defend him. James Harden, more than 8.5 rebounds and assists. I'm going to ride that one more time. More than 34.5 fantasy score for Jared Allen. He's been really good recently. Karl Anthony Towns, more than 12.5 rebounds and assists. Max Strus, more than 5.5 points. And then OG Anunoby, less than 15.5 points. 50 to win 825. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup with PrizePicks. It's a hell of a deal. Code HMA. Link is in the comments and description to download the PrizePicks app today. Okay, let's continue here. Senator Bill Cunningham via NBC Sports Chicago again says, I think the city would like to be back in play. There is not a concrete proposal on the table, but the mayor has asked Chicago members to slow this process down. Clearly, Johnson is his goal the next 10 days. Do not get this passed in Springfield. Buy us more time to try and figure out a solution in the city of Chicago. He knows if he could find a way to keep the Bears in Chicago, that's probably going to help for his reelection efforts. And even if it's an unrealistic scenario, he can at least be like, well, I did everything I could. It's not my fault. The greedy billionaire football team wanted to go elsewhere. He can figure out a lot of different talking points there. And again, I'm not I'm not trying to this is not a political show, but you guys can see how this all works from all angles. That includes the Bears, by the way. They have taken a lot of missteps here. But my only issue with this, and look, by the way, I've said all along, I want them to stay in the city. You're walking around the lakefront, and it's like, is there a more beautiful spot to have a stadium? It just doesn't seem that realistic. If it was realistic, don't you think they would have worked something out by now? I think that's where Kevin Warren made a big misstep. I think this is worth mentioning before we get to the next quote here. Kevin Warren's biggest mistake in all of this is 18 months ago, whenever it was, partnering with Brandon Johnson and doing that huge announcement that, hey, we have a kind of a soft agreement. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we're going to build a brand new state-of-the-art stadium in the city. The Bears are going to fund this much. The city's going to work it out. It's going to be great. And then it was like, well, then what happened, right? There was no execution. It was just like a classic, oh, this will sound great. People will be on board. They're going to love, oh, you could stay in the city. Kevin Warren and Brandon Johnson, this major partnership, it's going to work. And then, I don't think Kevin did a good job of keeping his end of the bargain to try and truly make that work. I think he probably realized, trying to work with some city and state officials, well, there's a lot of hurdles here. And so, to me, I think that's part of what Brandon Johnson is doing now. He's like, why the hell did he partner with me and spend all this time with me? Let's do these renderings, these talking points, and then we're not even under consideration anymore, the city, to keep the stadium. So I think that's part of him being pissed off at this point in time. So to me, the city, just as fun as it would be, as much as I would like it, you're back to square one. If you get through May and you're like, well, let's revisit the city thing. It's like you might as well be 3 years ago. All this this time you've spent flirting with Indiana or Arlington Heights, it's like, what was all even for if all this time later, well, let's try and revisit proposals with the city. It's like, oh, God, what are we, 3 years away again? It's just brutal. So I don't think you could afford to do that if you're the Bears. Okay, more from Marianne Ahern via NBC Sports Chicago. The pilot bill would lock in property tax rates for the Bears at the Arlington Heights site. The team is also seeking hundreds of millions in infrastructure funding around the site as well. But Cunningham echoed the concerns of some suburban mayors, who we talked about the other day, who say the team has not yet delivered on a traffic study that would help determine where those funds would be spent. So let's talk about the traffic study thing, because the other day we talked about that, and I was like, how has the team not done a traffic study yet? Well, Rob Schwartz, who has some sourcing on this, said fans looking to blame the Bears about the traffic study not being done at this point aren't fully understanding. It costs a minimum of $100,000 and upwards of $500,000. Furthermore, most jurisdictions won't accept data that's 1 to 2 years old. He points out that it's taken over 3 years to finally make a push to even talk about property tax certainty. So his point is, well, if they did a study, in 23 or 24, it would have expired and they would have had to do it again. So it's like, okay, that's certainly fair. He points out the Bears have made missteps as well. And so you read that and you're like, well, okay, that's actually kind of defendable, because the Bears probably knew this could be a long, drawn-out process, so why do a study on the traffic stuff if we're at least 18 months, if not 2 years away, and by the time that could get passed through, well, you have to do a new study because that's expired. So, okay, fair enough. Here's the problem. Kevin Fishbane did some digging, great reporter for The Athletic. He said, here's Kevin Warren for August in 2025 on the traffic situation in Arlington Heights. Kevin Warren, August of last year. We're working on a traffic study. I've actually received it. We're working on all the details. There will be some opportunities with IDOT to work on expanding to make sure, yada, 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 yada. So less than a year ago, Kevin Warren says they're working on it and that he's actually received it. Now, I don't know if it was done in that moment, but you would think if it was in process, they should have a complete traffic study that's not expired, that's not 2+ years old. So it's like, again, it's like you can't trust anyone, right? Like, I'm not saying Rob Schwartz is reporting poorly. Like, that's good information to know that, like, most jurisdictions won't accept a 3-year-old traffic study. But, like, the president who's running this, Kevin Warren, said they were working on one / may have had one done 9 months ago. So what the hell is that all about? It's just, you can't, nothing you see, you have to take it all with a grain of salt. Again, more to get to, but we do have to show love to SeatGeek as well. Listen, for the foreseeable future, the Bears will be playing at Soldier Field, so use SeatGeek and use code CHAT10 to get 10% off your next set of tickets. SeatGeek, by the way, is MLB's official ticket marketplace. Your tickets are fully guaranteed and instantly fulfilled in your account after purchase. Baseball's in full swing. NBA and NHL playoffs are here. The schedule is out for the NFL, and you can also get your World Cup tickets all on SeatGeek. The Cubs are in town this weekend. You got the Houston Astros in town. Cubs been struggling a little bit as of late, but you can get in to these weekend games against the Stros for a very reasonable price. Go check out that right now on SeatGeek. You can also get your Bears tickets, including the preseason opener, for less than $100. Date is TBD, but you can get your tickets now. Use code CHAT10 for CHAT10, not CHAT-IN, CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets with SeatGeek. That's code CHAT10. 10% off your next set of tickets, whether you're a new user or existing user. CHAT10, 10% off your next set of tickets with SeatGeek. Link is in the comments and description right now. Okay, Bill Cunningham again here. They have made a substantial request for a commitment to fund infrastructure improvements around Arlington Heights. We can't do that without a traffic study, and the Bears don't have one yet. The Bears are asking for $850 million in capital expenditures from the state. We can't line those things out until we have a traffic study and we know what these dollars are going to be spent on. So, do you have that traffic study if you're the Bears? Do you not? Do you need to do a new one? How long is that going to take? Are the politicians just playing dumb? Well, we don't have a traffic study. And, like, are they just trying to buy their time to push this past May 31st? Like, so the city has some fake chance of keeping the team? Like, this is peak politics. And, again, I don't want to make this like this is only an Illinois thing. Like, there's always going to be politics at play when you're building a new stadium, when you're talking about hundreds of millions, billions of tax dollars. Like, that's just the reality of it. But, man, it's just like every single thing. It's one step forward, 8 steps back, it feels like. Because all parties involved, the Bears, yeah, we've done this. No, you haven't. The city, yeah, Arlington Heights, we're close. Oh, here comes Brandon Johnson. No, you're not. I got 20 people that are going to vote against that, and that's going to be enough to not pass that through. Everybody's blaming everybody else, and when you're all pulling in different directions, you're not going to come to a compromise solution. That's just the reality of anything in life. You got to find a compromise somewhere. Cunningham, again, May 31st may come and go without a final answer on all of this. That's a possibility. I would call that a probability based on what we're hearing right now. I don't know how you could say with any good faith or belief or hope that Illinois is even going to have strong momentum with the Bears on what they need to potentially pass the whatever the term is, the laws, the policies, whatever, to get the Bears to sign on the dotted line to build in Arlington Heights, which essentially is just the tax certainty and the infrastructure around the stadium. If they don't get that, they've made it pretty clear they're not going to sign. So does that mean Indiana Bears inbound? Because to me, we're about to find out a lot about the Bears' position on this, because I think the Indiana thing is legit, and I think they have created leverage by doing that, But it almost feels like Illinois doesn't even care. They're just like, okay, well, we're not just going to roll over and give you what you want. Let's see how serious you are about Indiana. So to me, you get through May 31st, there's no resolution or at least substantial progress where I don't see how you could feel confident that there will be. Now, if the Bears don't quickly say we're going to Indiana, to me, they've kind of lost some leverage because Illinois can be like, oh, you're just bluffing. You're not going to Indiana. Like, we're nowhere closer with you guys, and you still won't go to Indiana, who's just waiting over here on the side of the border like, hey, you Illinois, Bears, Illinois, y'all keep fighting, but hey, Bears, Kevin, George, when you're ready, when you're tired of that, we're ready over here. We're ready to play ball. But if they don't play ball, Illinois, Springfield could just be like, they're not serious. They're not going to Indiana. They're not leaving Illinois after 100-plus years. They're proving it in real time. So, yeah, I think we're going to find out a lot very soon about how serious Indiana is. And if I'm George McCaskey, I have to deeply consider it at this point because it's kind of getting embarrassing how far this has gone without a resolution or even seemingly that close to resolution. And that brings us back to Kevin Warren. Is Kevin Warren under fire? I don't think you can just fire him right now because let's say May 31st comes and goes, no Illinois solution, and George doesn't want to just go to Indiana. Well, I don't think you can fire Kevin, and here's why. Then you're setting back your timeline God knows how long. You got to find a new guy, and you got to allow him to have some of his, you have to give him some control of this situation. George can't handle this. He can't get a deal done. That's why he hired Kevin Warren. And so even though Kevin Warren clearly has not done a great job here, even though I do think he's handcuffed by the state a little bit, I think he has overplayed his hand too many times. I think the flirtation with the city, the renderings, the combined, hey, celebration, the Bears are staying in Chicago, and then really no follow-up from that after a couple of years ago. I think that was a misstep that Brandon Johnson's using against the Bears right now and wielding his political power. I think just not being full steam ahead from Arlington Heights from the beginning was probably a misstep of remember when he took the job, it's yeah, we're going to consider all kinds of sites. There's sites in the city. There's other suburbs that are interested. It's dude, they just bought a $300 million property. Why is that not the focus? And maybe some of that's on George. When George hired Kevin, he probably should have been hey, Arlington Heights is the focus. Get us there. And that's probably a misstep on his part. But there's been missteps by the Bears. The state has been very difficult. The city has been difficult. And I think Indiana has proven that they can put something together very quickly. And that is appealing at some point. So I just don't think we're that close in Illinois. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm only regurgitating what's out there and kind of giving my, my baseline knowledge opinion. I'm not in the weeds and all this stuff. I do the best I can for you guys, but you read those quotes. You tell me, does something feel close? It doesn't to me. And it feels like in the last couple days in particular, it's it's actually gotten further away. It kind of felt like a couple weeks ago, 50-50 chance maybe something happens by the end of May. Scale of 0 to 100. Your confidence level the Bears in Illinois make a deal by the end of May, or at least make substantial progress. You guys let me know in the chat. 0 to 100. 10? I have very little faith, at least in the near term, that something happens. I'd give it a less than 10% chance we have a clear direction by June 1st, at least in the state. Maybe that clear direction on June 1st becomes, okay, Indiana is happening. And there would be some sadness to that, of course, but at some point, it's aren't you tired of this? The Bears got to be tired of this. I'm tired of it. Let's just get something going because, as I said a couple videos ago when talking about this, you finally have momentum as a franchise and as a football team. Don't let this get in the way. It's just not worth it. I don't want to be talking about this every other day, but A, it's slow this time of year football-wise, and B, it's kind of a big story, unfortunately. So that's where we're at for now. I'm sure there will be more soon. There certainly will be more soon as we get into the end of May and early June. So hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. We appreciate your continued support here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Bear down. Okie dokie. We got Ben. I think you discredit the sleeping Giants, man. They remind me of the 2024 Bears. Roster's more talented than given credit for. Well, a couple things, and I appreciate the super chat. I'm not sold on the coordinator situation, and this is not being anti-Matt Nagy guy. I actually think Matt Nagy has intangibles that I like, but I like him more as a leader than I do as an X's and O's football coach. He could never find his identity when calling plays in Chicago. That's why he had to give it up multiple times. I understand he probably never had the ideal quarterback, but that's a reality. The Chiefs kind of ran him out of town, and he's one of Andy Reid's guys. They were finally like, yeah, we got to bring back Eric Bieniemy and say bye to you. That's what happened. So in a weird way, I actually like Matt Nagy, the head coach, better than the play caller. So I'm not sold on that. Doesn't mean it won't work. Maybe the personnel in New York, it fits like a glove and it'll work. The defensive coordinator, Denard Wilson, brief play calling experience the last couple of years with the Titans. I do think Harbaugh just makes you more competent, but like I still think there's questions. Also, Malik Neighbors, like his status, like he'll probably be ready early in the year, but like, is he back right away? If he's not, I mean, you're talking about like Malachi Fields and who's the guy who can't catch the ball? Darius Slayton. That's not great. You lost the guy to Tennessee. Who's the slot receiver? Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
Scadaboo's coming off an injury.
Yep.
They didn't add a running back. So it's like, I still think there are questions with the roster. Their front four is pretty good, although you lost Dexter Lawrence. I think they'll be better on the back end than they were last year, but I still think there's roster question marks. And from an X's and O's standpoint, I have questions with the coaching staff. So I think they'll be better. I don't see like they're going to go from 5 to 11 wins. I think they're more like they're going to go from 5 to like 7 or 8 wins. Could be wrong, but I think they're still a year away.
Fair enough. We're going to talk some more Bears in our mailbag segment that's coming up on today's show. You can use #Bears or Super Chat to get in on that mailbag. I see some of you guys have already taken advantage of that. Not saying that stadium questions may or may not get in, but I think
you could put them in there. It's fine. I love that. Did you see that Mudvayne?
Yeah.
Waiting on the stadium really has millions of fans like. It's the loading thing.
Yeah. Love that. But yeah, if you have any questions, stadium, maybe some roster questions, trade targets, should the Bears sign X, Y, or Z, whatever you got. If you use #Bears or Super Chat, we greatly appreciate any donations, although they are not necessary by any means. Feel free, because we're about to get into a mailbag segment here on today's show.
You nailed it. #Bears or Super Chat to get on the show.
Doing pretty good at this, promoting the mailbag.
We've done a couple live shows in our day.
Once or twice.
Every once in a while.
I will say, because sometimes life and schedules get in the way and stuff. I do enjoy these lives. I do.
They're fun interacting with. You know what's going to be peak Bears when I go on my vacation? Something huge with the stadium's going to break. You can take that to the bank, because I won't be here May 31st, June 1st when you kind of get that end of legislative period. So it's like I will have my laptop. I can film content if I need to, but.
We will have you covered behind the scenes. So
yeah. That would be peak, though. That would be peak.
It's almost expected at this point.
Oh. It's a given.
But like Mike Media, that's a good question. Also a good example for those of you also in the chat. If you guys want to ask questions.
I assume Chris Aldridge is wrong. Kyle Busch? Chat saying Kyle Busch died, the NASCAR driver?
Dude, so Alper was talking about that.
Did he?
No, well, so apparently he had something where he had to go to the hospital.
Dude, Barstool just put it out. Whoa.
Oh, yeah,
died at 41 after an illness.
Whoa.
Holy smokes. I don't follow NASCAR that close, but I know who Kyle Busch is.
Yeah, he's one of the more polarizing.
Unspecified illness, hospitalized, never recovered.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder if he had like a brain aneurysm or something and they had to put him into a coma and there was no getting out of it. Shit. R.I.P.
Literally, this was.
Yeah, NASCAR put out a statement. Damn.
Well, Bush, from his Twitter account, his family put out a statement. This was this morning, so this was before any of this. Kyle has experienced a severe illness resulting in hospitalization. He's currently undergoing treatment, and he will not compete in any of the scheduled events this weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And then we asked for privacy, and obviously he did not, unfortunately, make it. And that's really sad. Jeez.
41. R.I.P., man. That's crazy. That is crazy. We'll see if we learn any more about that, but
R.I.P., man. That stinks. You never wish that for anybody.
nope. The statement from the Bears on the stadium. Quote, the Chicago Bears have exhausted every opportunity to stay in Chicago, which was our initial goal. There is not a viable site in the city. As a result, the only sites under consideration are Arlington Heights and Hammond. Probably splice that in after the live show. Just fit that in somewhere.
We can literally do something on it. Is that a tweet?
Yeah, I just sent you the photo. You could just.
I'm literally on the Bears Twitter. Where is
Adam
this?
Hogue tweeted it. It was probably an email to Bears Media.
We can do a quick little something. I can splice in afterwards if you want to do that.
Yeah, I just don't know where in there I want to put it. Probably after.
Well, do you want to cold open it? Or
No, I think it needs to go somewhere
Okay.
when we're talking about it. So we'll probably just need to look at it after the show. But we can still flash it on screen here while we're live.
Okay. Well.
The never-ending stadium discussion. Never ends. Alrighty, well, want to do a little mailbag action? Hashtag Bears or Super Chat?
Yeah, I'm gonna get this on screen.
Hop into your mailbag questions soon. A-Rod, another breakup with a girlfriend. Who could have seen that coming? There's just some people who just like, they just date. They just have like 50 partners in their lives. It's something. It's something.
All right, here's that stadium update that Harry was referring to.
Yeah, they released the stadium. The Bears have exhausted every opportunity to stay in Chicago, which was our initial goal. There is not a viable site in the city as a result. The only sites under consideration are Arlington Heights and Hammond. So, publicly, they're maintaining that position. I don't know what was discussed between them and the city a month ago, but that is what the public stance continues to be. So, that's all I got to say about that. All right. I hear you, Sleepy. Believe me, I wouldn't want to use my tax dollars either. Scepter, yeah, we'll probably do that. Oh, he says I hear the Jags host is pretty cool. We can get that'd be a good one to
Allegedly.
That would be a good one to flash before the old subby read.
Yeah.
Just saying. Another reason to subscribe.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hashtag Bear Super Chat. Fire those questions and we'll get them answered. Mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. We are presented by PrizePicks. From Caleb Fan 18, how would you power rank the NFC North right now? I've seen this question a few times. So, look, it's May. It's early. We haven't seen these teams play. I would put the division into two tiers right now, but I think the tiers are pretty close together. I think the Bears and Lions are 1A and 1B. I think the Lions probably have the slightly better overall roster, but I think the Bears have the better coaching staff, especially schematically. So I would lean the Bears there. I would go Packers 3A, Vikings 3B. Green Bay is tough to evaluate because there's some projection with their offensive line and with some receivers taking another step forward. Also, we don't know exactly when Micah Parsons is going to be back. We don't know if he's going to be his dominant self right when he does get back. So how does that impact things? Because last year, when he went down, they became a bottom 10 defense. So they really rely upon him. Plus, new defensive coordinator in Jonathan Gannon. The Vikings are 3B because you could argue they have the best overall roster in the division, but they have the biggest question mark at quarterback. Is Kyler Murray going to rediscover his form from like 3 or 4 years ago? Can he fit in Kevin O'Connell's pass-happy offense? You know, if he struggles, can JJ play well? I think that's – to me, when the division is this nip and tuck, and I do think it is, I think it's the most balanced competitive division in the NFL. I think you just have to put the team with the biggest question mark at quarterback last. And so that's why that falls there. But I think it's close. I think this is the one division in football that you could make a reasonable argument for any team to win the division. I just think the Bears have a lot of momentum as a team. With their young core ascending, you're not changing anything with your offense and defense. Not a lot of new installation. Obviously, we know Ben's going to constantly add and evolve and things like that. But the baseline of the offense is in place. So I just feel good about where the Bears as a whole are, even though there are certain weaknesses like the defensive line, for example. Okay, who do you guys have winning the division this year? Type CHI for the Bears, DET for the Lions, FGB for the Packers, or MIN for the Vikings. Let me know in the comments. We got Brian Dale. Do you think Malik Muhammad will take Tyreek's starting job? I think he's going to be a stud. I would say that Tyreek starts the year, and if he plays well, he'll hold on to that job all year. But if he struggles and they like what they see out of Muhammad, they'll have a somewhat quick trigger. But I think Tyreek, there's been positive discussions around him this offseason about him being in great shape, the work ethic. He's been in the building all offseason. Al Harris had some nice things to say about him as well recently. So I do think it's his job to lose, but I'm a big Malik Muhammad fan. He'll certainly get a chance to compete. But if you ask me today, I think Tyreek starts. All right, Eric Green, when and how much do you think Darnell Wright's extension will cost the Bears? Hope Joe Thuney never retires. Yeah, that'd be nice. Just play forever. I do think he could play at a high level into his late 30s for what it's worth. But as far as Darnell Wright goes, I think it's a 4-year extension in the high 20s per year, anywhere from like $27 to $30 million per year. I think I've had like a mock extension of like 4 for 112, 28 per year with like 80 guaranteed. Something like that. Like, it's going to be a big contract, but they picked up the 5th-year option. So if you give him a 4-year deal now at 28 to 30 million, you could space out that money over 6 years, where he's only making 27 million total over the next 2. So you can kind of keep those cap hits at a manageable number. Okay, we will take more questions here on our mailbag, but shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks is the place to go to play daily fantasy sports. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player lineups. You're good to go. They also have an awesome new feature. You can combine team picks with your player picks. Now, you can only do one team pick. So, for example, if you're doing a basketball lineup of, the Cavs-Knicks series, you can pick who's going to win that game or take the more or less in the point total and add that into a player picks lineup. So you could have a 3-player picks lineup with the team pick in there that essentially turns into a 4-player lineup, and you are good to go. Now, disclaimer, if you add a team pick in there, you can't use your promo funds for that lineup. That's got to come out of your own wallet. So if you're using code HMA to get $50 in free lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, you can't use that money when you're involving a team pick. So be aware of that. You could also just stick to the classic player picks lineup. How about this? Season-long football stats. If you're not a basketball, hockey, baseball guy, sports going on right now, Just do one of these. $20 to win 120 on this three-player lineup. Mekhi Lemon less on his yards, Jordan Tyson more on his touchdowns, and Dylan Thieneman more on his interceptions. Get started today. Use code HMA to get $50 in player picks lineups once you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA. To get that, link is in the comments and description of this video. Chris Aldridge, do you think we signed Cam Jordan, Bobby Wagner? I would think Cam Jordan's more likely than Bobby Wagner. To me, Bobby Wagner does not fit what they've preached all offseason, which is speed, versatility, guys who can cover at linebacker. Bobby Wagner is a downhill run defensive thumper at this point, and he's still good at that. He's still a very good run defensive linebacker, but so is TJ Edwards, who you already have. So I don't think Bobby Wagner really makes sense for the Bears at this point. Cam Jordan certainly does. Familiarity with Dennis Allen, 10 sacks last year, can kick inside some. I think he would certainly raise the floor of this defensive line. Whether or not he's willing to come here, whether or not the Bears actually want him, that's the million-dollar question. All right, Scepter, can you do the joint previews before each game again this year? I hear the Jaguars host is pretty cool. We've got this Jags host, does a decent job over there. It's a process, but no, I'm just kidding. Producer Cullen hosts our Jags channel as well. So, yeah, I think the goal is to do that for every game. You guys seemed to like them last year. We started doing them midway through the season, I want to say, week 10 or so, and they were fun, good shows, back and forth conversation with the hosts of those different teams. So if you want more of that type of content, then subscribe to the channel. We're definitely going to be leaning into that a little bit more during the season. Certainly a lot of fun. So we're dropping videos every single day, news, rumors, live shows, Q&As like this one, previews during the season, watch parties. It's a blast, so join the movement. All right, tread elsewhere. Who's going to have a better career, Jordan Love or Caleb Williams? Well, you know who I'm going to back. I'm going to back our guy, Caleb. I do think both will have good careers, though. I think both guys have relatively high floors at this point. I just think Caleb's ceiling is, I don't want to say substantially higher, but is higher. Like, he can just do more with his physical arsenal. He's a much better scrambler. And I don't even mean just, like, rushing yards. I just mean, like, extending plays, movability in the pocket. Like, Jordan Love, for being a pretty good athlete, kind of just sits in the pocket. Like, he's not looking to move around, and when he does, it's not the most fluid stuff. Throwing on the run, he can do it, but not to the ability Caleb Williams can. I just think Caleb Williams has so much just physical upside, horsepower, rocket arm, keeping plays alive, the sack avoidance. I just think his ceiling is higher if he continues to get better. I think Love is certainly still improving. He had a good year last year, and I'm not here to diminish Jordan Love. I think he's a good player, but if I had $100 to a little PrizePicks action to say who's going to have the better career, I'd be putting my money with Caleb Williams. Will Edwards, are we actually going to get Josh Sweat? I don't know. I'd like to, but, when it's May and a notable pass rusher is frustrated with this situation, the Bears could use better pass rush. I think that's a topic worth talking about. So, did a video on it. Could they try and get Josh Sweat? I would certainly try to go get him. Opinion type of video after the news that's out there. So go check it out. But I'd like to see it. What say you? Also, just curious, Cubs or White Sox? C for Cubs, W for White Sox. Gauging the audience here. What a fun series, by the way. Last weekend, White Sox 2 of 3, playing good ball for the first time in a while. Cubs having a good year, obviously. They're not playing great right now, but still having a really good season. So, C for Cubs, W for White Sox. Let's hear it. Bears fan for life. Okay, with AI prevalence, you can analyze more ways to manipulate a schedule. Should there be standards that drive schedule parity? Typo on the parody, but it's all good there. That's like the parody accounts on Twitter. But I mean, are you saying, like, should the league do a better job of not having the high variance of schedules in terms of, like, the net rest for certain teams or the other? I do think it's a lot tougher than you think to make a balanced schedule, but they could probably do a better job. Like the Bears having a plus 15 net rest advantage in terms of days and the Chargers being minus 24, that's a 39-day difference. It's over a month. I mean, that's kind of egregious. So, listen, we'll take it, right, from a Bears perspective. But, yeah, you would think that those levels of extreme on the spectrum should not exist. But I don't know if there's anything you can do to have an equal balanced schedule for all 32 teams, especially given the fact of how many days per week they're playing, the international slate. Like, if every game was at 1 o'clock on Sunday, sure, you could make every schedule pretty similar, but that's just not the reality. DB French, Tyson Bagent called for the Bears to win the Super Bowl last week. How good does the offense have to be to win it all? Probably got to be a top 5 offense. And I think that's possible. They were top 10 last year, one of the best rushing attacks. The passing was, I think, like 11th overall in the NFL. I think they were 11th in passing and like 3rd in rushing or something. So really good offense last year. If you could be a no-doubt top 5 offense, and if your defense can take some steps forward, then, yeah, I think you're going to be in the mix. So, still got to take steps. But, they were essentially a play away from being in the NFC Championship last year. So they weren't far off from being one of the last 4 standing. And, again, I think the top 3 or 4 NFC teams last year were winning the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think the Bears would have beaten the Patriots the way the Seahawks did last year, but the Rams certainly would have, and I still think the Bears would have had a very good chance to beat the Patriots as well. I think they were a better overall team. So, we'll see how it plays out this year. If the top quarterbacks in the AFC like Mahomes, Burrow, and Lamar stay healthy this year, the AFC will certainly be tougher. But I think the Bears offense can go with any in the NFL if Caleb keeps improving. All right, you know where to find me on social media, at HGramNFL, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I got some DMs to catch up on, so I'll try to do that this weekend. I'm over on Facebook as well, facebook.com/HGramNFL. DMs are open, posting content every day. Come check me out on social media and bear down. All right, Cubs or White Sox? Feels like a pretty even split. Let's do a little Polsky here.
Yeah. I
just ended it if you want to add the new one.
Yeah. Oh, running over courts here. Update the live chat. Let us know down below. Cubs, White Sox, or you can type your C's or W's in the chat. There were some super chats that unfortunately were not coming through the system, so hopefully they are coming through now, so we'll get to those. So
okay,
apologies for not being able to get those in.
We'll work those in. Cubs 68%, White Sox 32%.
But we'll make sure we answer them.
All right, we'll start getting those in. Ben, appreciate the 5. Someone needs to tell Caleb before every game it's the fourth quarter and we're down by 20. Easy 17-0. Yeah, I just think that I just think that's a little bit of everything. I mean, there was a stat the other day that was going around. The first 8 weeks of the year, they had 28 points on their opening drives. In the last 9, they had 0. So it kind of reverted back to the issue the year before where they just were starting slow. So I just think they got to get off the better starts. But, yeah, I think we got to remember, I mean, it was year 1 in a brand new complex system, and they still were one of the better offenses. So if they can start games better, then they're only going to be better. Crisis King, appreciate it. It would be amazing if the White Sox managed to make the wild card from 121 else to a totally different team. Shout out Eminem, Murakami, and Monty. Murakami, dude, is fun to watch.
The Southside Samurai.
Dude, he's just hitting nukes. Is he leading the bigs in homers? He's got to be up there, right?
He's up there. I'm not sure if he's
Let's
leading.
see. MLB leaders in home runs. Let's see.
Which, by the way, Southside Samurai might be one of the best nicknames in all of sports.
Triple S, baby. Let's go. He's second. Schwarber's got 20. He's got 17.
Yeah, Schwarber's been killing it this year.
Yeah, he's having a great year. Judge has 16.
16.
Ben Rice. Has your boy gotten out of his slump a little bit, or is it still a struggle?
In and out. It's not having a great year for Mr. Raleigh, which he never was going to hit 60, but you'd hope at least he gets
at least 35, 40. Yeah.
So we'll see.
See what happens. All right, we got one more segment here, some NFL news that can impact the Bears in the years to come. From a good and a bad standpoint, I think more good than bad, but there are positives and negatives to it, I think. So we will dive into that coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. If there's any super chats that roll in during the segment, we'll clean those up after this segment, and then we will sign off. So stay tuned. Bears Now continues. Coming up on Chicago Bears Now, we got some good and bad news from the NFL that impacts the Bears, really all 32 NFL teams and fans as well. So we'll dive into this from all angles here on this video. Speaking of the NFL, I don't know about you guys, I'm starting to miss football. If you're ready for football season, hit that like button, especially when you're coming off a good year. It's let's get back out there. Let's get on the gridiron. So like this video if you are ready for football. I'm Harrison Graham, and Chicago Bears Now is presented by PrizePicks. We have some NFL schedule news that impacts the Bears. The league announced an expansion in international games starting next year. Here was the report from Jeremy Fowler from the league announcement. He said that NFL on Tuesday approved the ability to play as many as 10 international games starting in 2027, up from 8 previously. The league also voted to strip teams' ability to protect any home games from international play. Previously, teams could protect 2 games. We'll get to that last part, and there's certainly pros and cons to this announcement because I don't love the lack of being able to protect some games on the schedule. We'll get to that in a minute. But I think the biggest takeaway from this is what Brett Coleman is saying here. Brett Coleman, NFL YouTuber, has his own couple of channels, does some work on the NFL channel as well on YouTube, says, this move allows the league to put true marquee matchups and rivalry games overseas if they want. Those big-time matchups translate to the international package becoming unbelievably valuable. They might get $100 million per game from a streaming partner for it. Cap going up again. That's the key one, right? The league makes more revenue. The salary cap goes up. Bears and all other teams have more money to spend, and we'll get to the Caleb part of this, but if he's going to get paid soon, that could certainly be a benefit, and that's clearly the next step in all this. I mean, Colin Cowherd's been talking about it. It's just basic common sense if you're following the NFL. Every year, what do we see? More streamers get involved, more international games. What does that mean? We're pretty close, in my opinion, to seeing a 12 to 15-week international package being sold to a streaming partner where, let's call it week 1 through the first week of December, there's an international game every week on Netflix or YouTube or Hulu or Amazon. And, I think they'd probably cut it off week 15 at the latest because you don't want some team traveling overseas in week 17 when you have the playoffs coming up. So I think week 14, week 15 would probably be the cutoff, if not maybe week 13. But I think you're going to see a 12 to 15 week and game package sold, and there's going to be an international game every single week on one of these streaming platforms. That would be my guess. That's where this is going, and I think a big reason why I think that's firmly happening is not just they're doing more games over there, they're putting better games over there, and now teams can't protect which opponent they don't want to face internationally. The NFL can take any game they want and put it overseas. And look, that will result in another salary cap spike. That is great news. Listen, if the Bears are going to have to pay Caleb Williams $60 million per year, and if he has a good year, we all want that, right? The Bears have never been in a position to pay a quarterback major money. That's the whole point of this when you draft a quarterback number 1 overall, to pay him because you believe he can take you to the promised land. Well, that softens the blow for an extension. If it's backloaded and the cap keeps going up, well, a $60 million cap hit in 2031, if the salary cap overall is, $400 million, that's not brutally egregious, right? So that's a huge benefit for teams who do have to pay a quarterback major money, which, again, you want to be in a position to do that because that means you have a quarterback, which the Bears have obviously not had. So that is the good side of it. We'll get to some of the negatives on it, plus a good point that Brett Coleman made about a year ago that continues with this conversation as well. But we are made possible by PrizePicks. Shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. Daily Fantasy Sports, you pick more or less on player stat projections, and if you hit, you can win some money. And guys, you can now put a team pick into your PrizePicks daily fantasy lineups. It's awesome. So, for example, Friday night hoops action, you got the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder Game 3 action. I took the more on the points between the two teams, 218.5, added a 3-player lineup to it, so it turns into a 4-player/team lineup. Now, you can only put one team lineup into a player lineup to make that clear. Point number one. And this one, by the way, is 20 to win 135. The players I took, De'Aaron Fox, more on his points. I think he's going to play, and if he does, I'm taking the more. If he doesn't, this will just turn to a 3-player lineup. Lou Dort, more on his points, Goblin style, and then SGA, more 8.5 assist demon. He had, I think, 9 in the last game. So like that one. Only thing I'll say is you can't use promo funds when you're involving team picks in your PrizePicks selection. So keep that in mind. But use code HMA to sign up today. You will get $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. That's only player picks lineups, but pretty cool new addition to the app that you can put a team pick in your player picks lineup. So check it out today. Links in the comments and description of this video. Okay, here's the downside by this announcement. I just don't love that any game can be sniped by the league. Like, let's be real. 49ers, Rams, if you're not a Niners and a Rams fan, cool, but that should not be played in Australia. Like, a divisional game, one team gets a home game, another team gets a road game. Now, in this case, you could argue the Rams aren't going to have home field against the Niners anyway, so okay, fair enough. But, like, could you imagine one year Bears-Packers is in Brazil, Spain, London? Sure, it would be a cool scene, but those games belong in Chicago and in Green Bay, and one of the teams is getting screwed, by the way. If the Bears have to go to London to play the Packers, and then their other game against the Packers is at Lambeau, that is brutal. So, like, to me, I think you can find good games to put internationally that aren't divisional games. Like this year, you know, it would be a great example, Bears-Eagles. That's still a high-profile game, 2 NFC giants, if you will, in terms of historical preference and current good teams. Put that game internationally. I'm fine with that. I'm not saying put the Titans and Jets international every week, the Falcons and the Commanders, but you can put good games without taking divisional games. I don't love that. But, again, you know, they're probably going to start doing that some because they can sell this package to these streaming networks for even more money. And the benefit of that is the salary cap side of it. So I guess it is a give and a take. Now, I want to revisit this from about a year ago. Brett Coleman tweeted this out. He said the cap is going to explode again. And it's because how the Nielsen measures ratings is changing. Starting this year, this was before last season, they are leaning into using data directly from smart TV manufacturers to measure viewing habits in addition to the traditional at-home panel method. This means NFL ratings, in particular from Sunday Ticket on YouTube, are going to be more accurately measured, and that number is going to be way bigger than you think because of just how many Gen Z and millennials consume football on streaming services. I am one of those. More accurate ratings means the league's next broadcast rights negotiations in 2028-2029 is going to be way more expensive, which ultimately means massive jumps in the salary cap. If I'm a GM, that means next year or maybe even this year, I can sign truly some backloaded deals, outrageous backloaded deals with a ton of funny money that all slams home in 2030 and not even care about the math. So it'll be interesting to see how this ages. Obviously, those negotiations open up in a couple of years, but he makes a good point because you're already kind of seeing the NFL tip their hand here. And I think the best example of this is go look at the Thursday night football lineup and go look at the Sunday night football lineup. Thursday night's on Amazon. Sunday night is on NBC. On paper, the Thursday night games are better. And I think that was true last year. their Amazon is paying a ton of money. And to me, in the last couple of years, it's been notable the Thursday night slate has gotten a lot better. When Thursday night football first got going on a weekly basis, 8-10 years ago, a lot of AFC South, a lot of NFC South. You'd get the occasional good game, but now the biggest game of the year last year was that Seahawks-Rams game. It was Thursday night football. It was a game of the year. Massive implications, right? Late in the season. The NFL is doing this intentionally. Why? Amazon, A, is paying a lot of money, and B, they know that these streaming companies have more money. It's not that NBC is dead / fully dying, but less and less people have traditional cable. So they look at Amazon. Oh, you're a $1 trillion company backed by Jeff Bezos, and tens of hundreds of millions of people use Amazon every day for 1,000 different things, groceries, random purchases, whatever. Yeah, your pockets are limitless. NBC can pay a lot of money, but they can't pay what you can pay. So we're going to kind of give you better games. Michaels said it recently. He was stunned that the NBC got Bears-Packers in the playoff game, or that Amazon got that last year. We all kind of assumed Amazon just ponied up for that. That doesn't sound like that was the case. The NFL did that intentionally because they're trying to butter up Amazon because maybe they're the team that buys this international package, or who knows? Maybe they swoop in and steal Sunday Night Football in a few years, right? Hey, we'll double the NBC offer because we got the capital to do it. So I think this is very intentional by the league. I think Coleman is all over this. More young people use YouTube TV. They're streaming these games. And look, there's good and bad news to all this. Again, more revenue, more salary cap space for this team, more flexibility for these teams to take risks and sign big contracts, all that stuff. That's fun. That's fun to cover. It makes you believe in your team more. All that stuff is great. The bad, and look, as young people, we're used to bouncing around services, but the downside is you might have to have 5 different services to have access to any game. We already have to watch on Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, YouTube had a game last year, and then the traditional CBS, NBC, and Fox and ABC, which if you have YouTube TV, that covers all those. But even if you have YouTube TV, that doesn't cover Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, and YouTube. Hulu could get in the game. Apple TV could get into the game. So the downside is you could be bouncing around, but here's the thing. The NFL has the consumer. Why? Because every game matters and your favorite team plays once per week. It's way more justifiable as a football fan to say, you know what? I only get to see my team once a week. Even if I don't have Netflix, I'll buy it because I'm not missing one of my team's 17 games, right? In the NBA, if 10 games a year are on Prime Video, you might say, I don't need to watch. I'll watch 60 games instead of 82. That's not football. Every game is important, and we all wait all week to watch our team play. That's not the case in these other sports. So the NFL knows that, and they're taking advantage of it. And, yeah, there's downsides from a consumer standpoint, but the upside is, boom, the league is making a shit ton of money. And from a Bears perspective, I would encourage them to have forward thinking. If Caleb Williams has the year we hope he's going to have and you're going to pay him, pick up the 5th-year option, give him a contract, backload that puppy, because when you get to 2030, 2031, the last couple of years of that deal, A, you can probably, if you need to move off him for whatever reason at that point, usually it's not going to be as much dead money. And B, well, really, you're hoping you just give him a 3rd contract and it pushes that money back. But also, C, the cap might be, I don't want to say double what it is now, but maybe 50% higher. That's certainly a possibility. So, you know who's doing it? Is Jeffrey Lurie with the Eagles. I promise you, he's got the forward thinking. So, George McCaskey, be willing to pay up for these guys because it's only going to benefit you down the road because the league is booming. Business is booming, as AB used to say. Do you like international games? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I do actually like them. I think it's cool to see, the international fan watch American football. This is the one sport we can claim as ours, so it's cool to see other countries get on board. I don't love the idea of putting Bears-Packers in London, though. That should be at Lambeau or at Soldier Field. So that is the downside, but it is what it is. And look, like them or not, they're here to stay. We are going to see an international package sold within the next 5 years. So giddy up for that. And, change is inevitable. Evolution is inevitable. Adapt or die, and the NFL is constantly evolving, looking for new revenue sources. And, international ball is that's how you find the new fan. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We drop videos every single day. We'll see you soon. Bear down. Buff Mac, appreciate the 10. I remember you did a video last year comparing Caleb to every starting quarterback in the league before 2025. I'd love to see another comparison video like that, especially with the season Caleb had. Yeah, we will do that. Cullen and I kind of comboed that video. We'll either get to that next week or when I get back from vacation. I'm leaving late next week, going to be gone a little more than a week. Don't worry, we'll pre-film some episodes, and if the guys here need to handle any breaking news, or I'll have my laptop with me if I need to film something, so we'll have plenty of content. But we will do that video. That was fun last year. We will definitely do that again. So stay tuned for that, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where we have him stacked up. Bears fan for life, way too early prediction. Leader in receiving yards, rushing yards, sacks, tackles, and interceptions. Oh, gosh. I'll stick with Swift on the rushing, although I do think that'll tighten with him and Monongai, but I'll lean Swift. Receiving yards, I think this is actually this one or sacks is the toughest one, I would say. Receiving yards, I will go with – I'm going to go with Colston because I do think that, there's going to be Rome games. There's going to be Luther games. But I think Colston has the chance to be, just kind of the steadiest throughout the season. So I'll go with Loveland there. Sacks, I'm going to go Austin Booker, I think. I think Montez Sweat, he kind of is what he is at this point. He could give you 10 sacks, but I don't think there's going to be a huge uptick there. To me, he's going to be between, 7 and 10 sacks. I think there's a world where Booker gives you flirts with double digits. And if he's at 10 sacks, decent chance that's more than Sweat. So I might lean Booker there. Tackles, I would probably lean Devin Bush. If T.J. Edwards starts all year, he'll be up there. We know he racks up tackles. It'll be one of those two guys. Interceptions, I would either go Kobe Bryant or... Weirdly enough, if Tyreek starts all 17 games, I could see it being him because if Jalen's healthy, as good as he is, when he's locked in, they don't throw to him that much. And so he's never been a high interception guy. So I would probably lean either Kobe Bryant or whoever the other outside corner is. You can maybe say Kyler Gordon, but can you trust him to stay healthy? That's tough. Dylan Thieneman's a rookie. I don't know if I could go there either. So I would say Kobe Bryant or Tyreek Stevenson if he is a season-long starter. Because when Tyreek plays, he makes plays on the football. So that would be my guess. Kyle, appreciate the 5. Absolutely heart-wrenching. RIP NASCAR legend Kyle Busch. Yeah, that was shocking. Got an illness recently, and it clearly went south. So thoughts go to his family, and that's tough, man. 41 years old.
RIP.
That's brutal. So thoughts go out. Wasim Khan with the 5. The international schedule sounds terrible and greedy. They'll sell it to CBS. LOL. Could you imagine the reaction to Bears, Packers in Europe? The fuck? Yeah, I don't love that. Look, you want to put Bears, Vikings overseas, okay. I think the big major rivalries need to be played in home stadiums. I get it. The NFL is a business. You're constantly looking for more revenue streams. I don't blame them. Even if we can all acknowledge it is a greedy thought process, I have to accept it. But that doesn't mean, come on, man. You're going to put Cowboys, Eagles, overseas. You're going to put, they're already doing Rams, 49ers this year. I guess the one thing you could say there is, the 49ers take over SoFi anyway, so it's okay, whatever. But, I don't know. Just, the thought of the Bears playing the Packers at Wembley or something just doesn't feel right. I think you can find good games that don't have to be divisional games. Bears-Eagles would be great overseas.
I would just make the rule no divisional games overseas.
Yeah, any other game is fine.
Yep.
the Bears have 5 great games out of their division. They play the Bills. They play the Eagles. They play the Seahawks. They play the Jags. You could put any of those games over.
Whatever the game
Yes. And I'm fine with that. Like I just think when you play an opponent twice, you are giving a team, like someone asked earlier about can they make the schedules more even. Well, if you're going to start doing this, it's like it's already imbalanced. Like you're going to give it, like if you put a division game over there, one team's getting screwed because they're not getting the home game. So
no doubt.
I'm not a fan of that.
Also, let us know down below if the Bears, for whatever reason, can't host a rivalry game in Chicago. Let us know which country, if any country, would be the most resemblant of Chicago. I feel like that could be an interesting question.
They do well in London when they play there, so I think if you were going to have to play a division game overseas, you'd probably want it in London. They have a strong base there. But again, that's just something about that doesn't stick right with me. Wasim Khan, he says, I have Amazon just for football, F pesos. That's the point, though. It's like, they got you, right? And by the way, I like Thursday Night Football. I do. I think they have the most entertaining pre- and post-game show. You got Fitzpatrick ripping his shirt off. You got, which can be a little much for me at times, but I don't think he's full McAfee. But I think Whitworth is a good analyst. Sherman does a nice job. Carissa's good at kind of being the traffic cop for all of it. It's a good product. The post-game shit with the play. Remember last year, Flacco was like, yeah, my kids are keep playing, Dad. That was cool to see when he beat Rodgers on Thursday night. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good product. So, I don't want football necessarily every night of the week, but I do like Thursday Night Football. There's something about what we do, too, because just a little peek behind the curtain. During football season, we're typically off Friday, Saturday. Now I'm usually doing stuff from home, but that's our off days. Unless your team plays Thursday, then it's Monday through Friday. Could be off Sunday, but regardless. There's something about the end of the work week, though, before you're back in Sunday. It's oh, we got Thursday Night Football tonight. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's very unique for us, but yeah, it's pretty cool to be all right, we're off work for the next couple of days, but
we got a game tonight.
You can go to a sports bar or something and watch Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, and it's no Amazon is getting good games. It's a loaded slate, so.
All right, we got one more from HVAC before we get out of here. And then, appreciate you guys tuning in on this Thursday. He says, are you going to do more of the Join Chat Sports channel videos? Looking forward to Harrison and Cullen video if you do. Or videos, I should say.
Which one was this?
HVAC, the most recent Super Chat.
Are you going to do... Yeah, we will for sure do the previews during the season. We've done a few other ones on this show, we did a Bears-Falcons collab when there were some Tyson Bagent rumors. We've done a couple Bears-Giants collabs. We were doing DJ Moore, Kayvon Thibodeau stuff. So, I think anytime there's relevant storylines that, combine with the Bears and another team, I think we're going to try to do that as much as we can. It's fun. Seeing the different fan bases in the chat too. So. I don't think we're definitely not going backwards on that. We'll definitely be doing more of those. So, definitely excited for that.
Yeah, let us know also which videos you want us to do, kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier, whether it's Caleb against all the other quarterbacks in terms of who would you rather have, or any other videos that you guys are looking for from us. It is the off season, so open suggestions.
Yeah, we're looking for ideas for sure.
I'm gonna pop this one on screen as soon as it loads, and then we are out of here.
Appreciate you guys for rocking with us. We are Cullen and I are going to work Monday Memorial Day.
Yes.
So
we'll be
I think we will go live. So we'll see you then. Because Thursday next week I'm taking off early to head out for my vacation. So we won't have a live next Thursday. Maybe we'll go live Wednesday. We'll see, just to get some extra content and interact with you guys one more time, but stay tuned. We'll be live Monday, though. All right, Michael, appreciate that again. Guys, appreciate you so much. Go check out PrizePicks, code HMA, $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Links in the chat. Shout out to Colin for producing. We are out of here. Bear down.